I this started kind of in the middle, but I'll recap and say that this is one of the best hands you can get. You always get beginner's mind because when you shuffle, it goes to the top. So that's your round one. You have a 1-1. And then I played the 2-4 that gives negative nourish on round two. The thing that this deck wants to do is on round three have Cloak of Stars either played or in the discard pile. And my opponent discarded my Cloak of Stars, so I ended up getting that situation anyways. So discarding Cloak of Stars or playing it is roughly equivalent here. This means that I'm then ramping, which is kind of the game plan. And then you branch into one of three directions, or you like balance one of three things. So on the one hand, I want lots of breath, and I want to end a round with either Cloak, Rooster, or Moon. That means that next round I have lots of breath and I can play a variety of cards. This is sometimes at odds with getting lots of points in a round. So you usually look at like the round number, the max breath, and you say like, am I getting at least, in this case, 5 points, because my opponent probably gets 5 points. Well, here I played 8 points, so I was getting at least 5 points. This deck does still care about not losing rounds. And this matchup in particular, the Shadow deck is kind of a counter to this. It tries to attack it on some directions that other decks can't really. So there was the I want to have breath, I want to have my morning stacks, correct? And then I want to get nourish, and I want my discard pile to be ordered in a good way such that the top four cards will get me lots of points, will get me nourish, ideally, because they're hitting oak, will have cling so that I have paramountcy again the next round, because cling gets back the top costed card in my discard pile. And then the last thing is I want the last card that gets that resolves, essentially, the last card of mine in the story, to be something with morning, such that it's triggering the breath carryover. Because if this deck doesn't have like at least 7 breath, it mostly can't do things. And there's some decks that they'll do like one big thing, and these end up fragile to a deck called Hyper Thin, which will play something that will discard one of my cards from the story, and then I'll be forced to play a couple cards, and then it will play a reset, so our points will go to 0. So it doesn't really matter if I get 30 points from a paramountcy. If my points are being set to 0 after all of those cards, it's still going to be a loss for me. The reason that this deck does really well into that is that I have like 30 breath, so I can play a large threat like an oak, and then I can pass, because whatever my opponent has played has probably not been that many points. An exception is if the opponent's card was something that discarded my card and got them points, I would be in a rough situation again. I'm not so much talking about this match. I guess I'm using all this time just to talk about how this deck functions. So again, me and Sherlock and Jordan play this deck a bunch. I think that Sherlock is better at it than me. He made it. I think his deck tech is better than me. But I mostly just switch the 2-drop slot. Um, I think he also plays 2 ecologies. I only play 1. I feel more comfortable just like navigating to later rounds by either playing points or like just hard passing. So like if I have Cloak in the discard pile and I'm just passing for a round, all of the breath for that round is going to get banked, and I'm going to hit some higher threshold and be able to play like Oak or Moon or whatever. Versus you can just play Ecology on 7, So like Cloak on 3, you bank the 3 breath. On round 4, you get another 4 breath, and you have 7. Then you play Ecology to go from 7 to 10 immediately, and you play like Rooster Moon or something. Um, I didn't even talk about the morning triggers. So Cloak is Cloak is like the thing that you're hitting eventually, and all that it does is give you breath equal to the breath you lost last round. It's like it keeps your breath from last round essentially. But if Moon happens, which will trigger the morning ability of the 2 morning cards below it, then you can double that. So whatever I had last round that I didn't spend, give me double that much, and then give me my normal breath. The thing is, you can do this with 2 cloaks below Moon. You can also do this with Cloak and then Rooster and then Moon, because Rooster will trigger the Cloak. So Moon is going to trigger Cloak and Rooster, which triggers Cloak. And then you're getting to double the breath. When you do this, it lets you play several cards in a row. And then when you have Cling being hit by Paramountcy, it means that you play Paramountcy and 1 or 2 of the cards that it gets back are Cling. The first Cling is getting your Paramountcy for 9 points, which means that next round you'll have it again. And the second Cling is probably hitting like Oak. And what this does is 2 cards have been put on top of your deck. So when you draw your 2 cards normally, you are not forcing yourself to shuffle, and you are preserving the order of your discard pile. So this ends up in like a snowball-y or lock state